Hey there traders, David here of Trading Fibs, Trading the Trend website to bring you a chart setup tutorial for the basics of the T3 moving average that you can find here on the resources page at tradingfibs.com under the trading rules page. Come all the way down to the third page, click, and you will find the basic strategy here used in the Trading Fibs live screen shared trading room every day, including the criteria to enter the trade and the two basic chart setups. I want to make sure you check out the other video series that will cover the Sierra chart template setup as well as the criteria to enter the trade. Information here can be accessed through the templates as well for those who have purchased the e-manual premium edition and who are members of the trading room. These templates come complimentary as those who have purchased the e-manual and are members. I'm going to jump right in here to the two basic charts that form the core strategy of the T3 moving average study. Some trading platforms don't have access to a T3 moving average, so go ahead and simply on the left hand side on a two chart setup we have a 5 exponential and a 10 exponential moving average crossover study. In the bottom chart here, in the bottom study, we have a 534 exponential moving average. And on the right hand side, a 50 and a 144 exponential moving average. In setting up the Thinkorswim platforms, simply click on the studies. Again, one of the nice features of Thinkorswim is that with all the numerous T3 moving average studies, you could set these up as a set as you build your charts. Add the studies in. Whatever studies you have here is added studies and strategies. You can always go ahead and save this as a set as you would open up a new chart and simply plot this set on your new charts. Looking at the studies in the upper left hand corner here, we have a moving average 2 lines in the upper study and moving average 2 lines in the lower study. Clicking on the options for the study up above, we have a 5 exponential, we have a 10 exponential. Again, the standard study will come as simple. I want to make sure that I include it as an exponential. And again, this study can easily be found here on the left hand side by scrolling down all the way to moving average 2 lines, adding it to the upper study as well as the lower. You always have the option of changing whether you want dashed lines. I would recommend that the 5 exponential, the fast average, have a white color to it. Again, it's up to you as to what color you want. And your slow average study be a solid line. Usually I like to make the fast average a little bit smaller than the slow average. Your option to show the price action on the side by showing the bubble. Once that's plotted, you now have your crossover study for the 5 and the 10 exponential. The lower study here that you see down below is the 534, same setup using the same study here, moving average 2 lines. Go ahead and click on the options. You have 5 and 34. Make sure you click exponential versus simple, making sure that your studies to your liking, dashed lines versus solid lines. Deciding whether you want the bubble, price bubble to show on the side. Hitting OK. And there you have your two studies. Now, one of the key core strategies to the T3 moving average, or in this case, because we're only using exponential moving averages for those that don't have access to the T3, this is a trend setting or trend strategy is remaining in the trend as long as possible. And so one of the core uses or strategies implied in the trading fib strategy is the use of Heikin-Ashi bars. Again, Heikin-Ashi bars are not the only trend bars that one could use. The other kind of bars that one has access to are the TTM Carter bars or Woody CCI perhaps. In this case, the preference here to use the Heikin-Ashi bars as the core strategy when trading with the T3 moving averages. As you can see here, slightly different setup with the solid bodies tails up is one way of remaining in the trend for the long term. Here on the right hand side, we have a very similar study to the ones here on the left. Go here to the studies and edit. This is a 1-minute chart using the same study, moving averages. You want to set yourself a 50 and a 144, making sure you choose simple versus exponential. Again, if you're going to use simple moving average, make sure all your charts have simple on it. And then once again, decide whether you want to have price action show up on the side by showing the bubble, and then whether you want dashed lines or solid lines. Hitting OK, and that's your only study that you'll have here on the right. Again, we're just going over the setup here. You want to make sure you check out the other video on how the criteria of entering the trade, putting this all together. Now, if you have access to the T3 moving average study, which is at the core of the strategy, the T3 moving average study, which is a for all intents and purposes a public study, it's not anything proprietary. Same chart setup. Up here on the top we have the now we have the T3 moving averages, bottom 534 setup, and here the 1 minute setup on a 50 and 144. So the only difference in this setup here is you'll start to notice here is we have labels in the upper left hand corner. And so the T3 moving average study, which is called a T3 labeled by my standards here of differentiated from my others, is a T3 original study. Now, if at any time you want to go ahead and change any of the parameters of the T3 original study, you want to go ahead and edit over here on the study, and you could change colors, you could change what it says up here in the labels, and you have that ability to go ahead and then change the core strategy, or at least the core setup of whether you like green or red, or you want to change the color of the T3 moving average. So just like we had in the other charts where we had a T3 moving average, you had a 5 and a 10 exponential moving average. Now in our place, we still have the same study below, the 5 and the 34. The only difference here is now we have the T3 original study. The T3 original study here, as you can see, one is going to have a setting of a 5 exponential, and the other one is going to have a setting of a 10 exponential. Because this is a crossover study, I want to make sure that my 5 is up above the 10, because the labels in the upper left-hand corner will identify based on the order of the studies here in the price. So, looking at the T3 moving average study, again, you have different options for different indicators. We use the T3. Prices close. The setting will be a 5. As you scroll down, you have the option of a label, and you have the option of painting the bars. You want to make sure your preference for how the dynamic color set. Again, here I have it in green. If I wanted to change that to white, I simply have to go into the study, simply edit it. I'll go ahead and show you how that's done here in a minute. So if I went ahead and removed the label, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, the label will disappear. All right, so coming back here, again, choosing the option for the label, and you'll see the label reappear. Now, the painting the bars here in the study is the ability, one of the nice features is, based on the fact that I prefer to use Heikin-Ashi bars, is one availability, and whether you use TTM Carters or Woody CCI, you see a difference in the change of the bars that went from red to green. Keeping you in the trend, as you can see here, right now they are in standard candle, the difference between Heikin-Ashi and the standard candle that comes with the study. Again, I prefer to use Heikin Ashi bars, but the core T3 moving average here study includes the painting the bars. So if we go back into the study and we decide to paint the bars, what comes up different is that they are a trend setting bar. We go ahead and make sure that both are set up. The only difference between the two studies here is that one is labeled 5 and the other one is labeled 10. Once I hit OK, you can see now that the trend is all green, where you had a mix of green and red prior to the switching of the label indicator. Now, if I want to go ahead and change the line here, I simply go into Edit Studies, and go into the T3 Original Study, hit Edit. What you do is you come down here, you simply find, this is for the label, okay, you can change the colors of the label, you can decide what you want to write up, down, you can say short or long, okay. Going through the study here, again you have the inputs, you have the definitions and the plots, and right here you want to assign the value color. So instead of the line being green, I go ahead and I edit this. Sometimes doesn't catch right away. Alright, and we go ahead and we type in white if we can catch that. There we go. And now I change my color in the study. And now we have the T3 moving average. So what is the basic difference between the two charts that I've just shown you? Is that right now you have a moving average that will change color based on the trend, versus the basic chart of the T3 moving average remains white the entire time, is based on just a 5 exponential moving average. The T3 moving average, you have a color change based on the change in the trend. Once price action turns upwards here on the bars, the moving average as well is going to change to the trend upside. Again, you have the opportunity here to either have your bars hollow or to fill them in. I prefer to keep my bars hollow because it identifies the moving average line a little bit clearer. Alright, well that wraps up the tutorial here for the basic two chart setup that we have here at tradingfibs.com. You have the two charts here, the T3 moving average and the moving average setup without the T3 moving average study. Again, what you have in the background here is the cloud study, which is actually the next step in the series of for those who are members, which identifies when the T3 moving averages crossover, the background will actually give a visualization. So without the cloud cover, have an awesome setup here between either the T3 moving average setup or the moving average setup without the T3 moving average study. This is David of tradingfibs.com. Have yourself a Blue Zone day.